Okay, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, and welcome to Elsevier APAC Customer Success Hub webinar, Beyond Borders, How to Promote Interdisciplinary International Collaborative Research to Contribute to the Achievement of the SDGs. My name is Cass Hori, Marketing Manager at Elsevier. I will be co-moderating this webinar along with our customer consultant, Junya. Just a little housekeeping before we get started. The audio function is turned off for all attendees. If you have any questions, please type them into the Q&A box, not chat box, but Q&A box at any time during the presentation. We will collect these and address them during the Q&A session at the end. And when you leave this webinar, your browser will prompt you to fill out a survey. Please click Continue to complete the survey. Lastly, you can find the links to recording, presentation materials, and certificate of attendance in the follow-up email, which we're sending out in a few days. So please make sure to check the email. Now I'm passing on to Junya to introduce APAC Customer Success Hub and our guest speakers for today.
Okay. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you, Katz, for your kind remarks and introduction. I'm Junya from Elsevier, Japan. Before introducing today's speakers, let me introduce this session, APAC Customer Success Hub, very briefly. So some of you might have joined previous session already before. So APAC Customer Success Hub is our new initiatives since in 2022, since the last year, to support academic and research-focused professionals in building domain knowledge, honing a new skill set, and industry development as well. So far, we have conducted a couple of sessions already with a series of workshops, trainings, and seminars, and with inviting experts to speak out and share the experience lively. So if you would be interested in previous sessions, please visit our APAC Customer Success Hub website, and recording version is also available for you. Move on to the next slide. So now I'm happy to and honored to introduce today's speaker's bio. Please allow me to digest their bios a little bit. And if you would like to see the whole bios for today's speakers, please visit our APAC Customer Success Hub website. So our first speaker is Professor Kono from Kyoto University. And Professor Kono is currently a member of Center for Southeast Asia Studies and Vice President for International Studies in Kyoto University in Japan. So Professor Kono is an agricultural engineer in education and was awarded a Doctor of Agriculture degree by the University of Tokyo. He has joined the Center for Southeast Asia Studies and also served as a Director of Center for Southeast Asia Studies from 2014 to 2018. As a Vice President for International Strategy, he is in charge of promoting and coordinating the university's international research and education activities. These include activities of the university's overseas centers in Europe, ASEAN countries, and North America. His research fields are natural resources management and human-nature interactions in Southeast Asia countries, including Thailand, Laos, Vietnam, Cambodia, Myanmar, and Indonesia, in addition to the southern part of China and India. And his research field is now collaborating with a wide range of disciplines such as historian, anthropologist, economist, political scientist, etc. He is exploring the new research field of sustainable humanosphere studies, which aims to embed nature and environment into the dialogue about science and society, which you may think more multidisciplinary. So Professor Kono is currently head of a large-scale international program called the Japan ASEAN Science, Technology, and Innovation Platform, in which capacity he promotes interdisciplinary studies and transdisciplinary activities with colleagues in ASEAN countries. Move on to the next slide. Our second speaker is Professor Atachai Jintrowet. I hope I can pronounce correctly, from Chiang Mai University in Thailand. So Professor Atachai received PhD in agronomy and soil science in University of Hawaii in the United States. His research and innovations rooted around systems approaches to improve agricultural resource management. Major research innovations are decision support systems for agricultural resource management, which is called DSM tools. These tools combine databases and crop simulation models that allows the user to assess various alternatives for better agricultural resource management under small farm settings. He's also coordinating the Agricultural Research Network funded by the Thailand Research Fund Agency. Currently, his research interests are focusing on seasonal crop production systems with local communities and government agencies at the watershed level using database models. He's a member of research team under the Thailand Development Research Institute and also member of technical advisory teams for Department of Agriculture, Chiang Mai Young Smart Farmer Associate, and Agricultural Research Development Agency. And lastly, but not least, from us as Elsevier, we are very honored to have these great speakers for this session. And we hope this session will be something informative for today's audience research activity onwards. So now here we are. Please welcome both Professor Kono and Professor Atachai. So first speaker is Professor Kono. So Kono Sensei, over to you.
Okay. First, let me share my Okay, can you see my slide on the screen?
Yes, yes.
Okay, thank you very much for a nice introduction. I'm Kono from Center for Southeast Asian Studies, Kyoto University. I'll give a talk. It's the title of my talk is the same with the title of this seminar today. Today, I was requested to talk something about interdisciplinary and international collaborative research, messages to the next generation of researchers, and how we can contribute to solve the global issues by research works. Oh, these are undoubtedly too much. But in order to answer a part of these, I will talk 3 points. Research and SDGs first, and then roles and the significance of interdisciplinary studies, and the last, transformation of international collaborative researches. As you must know well, SDGs are the universal goals which should be addressed by people in the world, adopted by UN in 2015. These are based on the 2 outstanding visions. One is inclusive society, that is no one left behind. And the other is directing transformation, new development patterns under the planetary boundary. How was the responses to SDGs? Let us see the cases of Japan. The response of Japanese government was, very much frankly speaking, was not so quick, but the government later set up several policies within a few years. It set up SDGs promotion headquarters at the cabinet level and published SDGs implementation guiding principles and SDGs action plans. How was the responses of Japanese society? Surprisingly, the private sector and local government quickly and proactively responded to SDGs. Usually they don't pay much attention to international society, but in this case, it's quite different. They developed their own strategies to contribute to SDGs and published them widely to the society. SDGs is one of the symbols of innovation. Keidanren, Japanese Business Federation, revised the Charter of Corporate Behavior in November 2017, where achieving the SDGs is stipulated as a main point. This suggests that SDGs are very much welcome by the Japanese society. Then, how about the responses of the academic sector in Japan? The research sector is also proactively involved in the movement of SDGs. For example, Japan Science and Technology Agency, JST, which is one of the biggest funding agencies under the Ministry of Education, MEXT, compiled representative practices and published it as a book of Japan's practice for SDGs. JST also launched several research funding schemes for contributing SDGs. I myself prepared a project proposal for promoting Japan ASEAN collaborative research and submitted it to JST in 2015 when SDGs were issued, in which I said that contributing to the achievement of SDGs is the overall goal of the project. Why I did so? Why did I do so? One reason is that at that time, in 2015, referring to SDGs was still not so popular in Japan and supposed to be quite proactive. Another reason was that I support the idea of inclusiveness of SDGs beyond the academic barrier, inviting practitioners, private sectors, and policymakers to work together, which the proposed project tried to pursue. However, I was a little bit uncomfortable when I put SDGs as the overall goal of the project. Let me explain why I thought so. Now, let us consider the questions. What is the impact of SDGs on research trend? And what is the significance of SDGs on long-term sustainability of research? Professor Shiraishi is one of the leading social scientists in Japan. He is also actively involved in diplomatic policy making of the Japanese government, particularly science and technology policy. He was before an executive member of the Council for Science and Technology Policy in the Cabinet Office. In his speech delivered in October 2015, he said like this: We have shifted the objective of science and technology policy from science promotion to social innovation. We have shifted the logic for resource allocation, such as government budget allocation, from supply side, say the research side, to demand side, the society side. In light of the globalization of science community and scientific research, and we now understand that this trend as open science, open data, and open innovation, we have decided to regionalize and globalize Japan's scientific research and technological development on condition that the research should address problems that we all are confronting in the region. From these words, you may get the impression that this policy change and SDGs are on the same direction. In ASEAN countries, it seems that the science and technology researches and SDGs are much more overlapping. ASEAN Science, Technology, and Innovation Roadmap says that the integration and cooperation agenda of science, technology, and innovation is driven by the common vision of every ASEAN member states to leverage on the use of science, technology, and innovation to share knowledge and research developments, and to translate the research outputs into implementable solutions that address the real-life problems faced by its citizens. Frankly speaking, I am a little bit uncomfortable again that knowledge produced by research is something like commercial commodity. Next, let us see the words of Nobel laureate. Professor Tasuku Honjo is an immunologist and won the Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine in 2018. He is currently distinguished professor of Kyoto University. In the interview of Japanese newspaper, he said that 6C is the must for innovative research. These are curiosity, courage, challenges, confidence, concentration, and continuation. He has pursued these C's since he was a student. The point is that all C's are spontaneous, arising from within researchers themselves. The major engine of promoting innovative research exists inside the researcher, and the impact of demand-side logic is more or less indirect, I think. Let us see the next case, Professor Shinya Yamanaka. Professor Yamanaka studies iPS cell and won the Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine in 2012. He is currently a professor at the Center for iPS Cell Research and Application, Kyoto University. He loves jogging and is a good marathon runner. So he compared research with marathon in the interview with Japanese media. He said that the work of researchers needs a long time, similar to marathon. The discovery of hepatitis C virus is in 1989, and the specific cure was finally developed in 2014. It takes 25 years. 25 years is not extraordinarily long, but research usually needs 20 to 30 years. Researchers, including himself, are making effort for laborious and time-consuming works like slow-pace marathon. SDGs as a goal by 2030. We have just 7 years before that. The timescale of politics and timescale of research are quite different. The timescale of research is, of course, much longer. Without considering this difference and paying respect to the effort of researchers, we cannot promote innovative research and research for society too, I think. So what I think most important is to establish sustainable and productive ecosystem for science, technology, and innovation. Basic research, applied research, and practical researches are equally important. And their sources of innovation are academic freedom, original idea, and diverse perspectives. The best mix of basic, applied, and practical researches as a basis of sustainable and productive ecosystem research. And it may take time, but it must be the main road to achieve SDGs. Okay, let me move to the next topic. Roles and significance of interdisciplinary studies. What are the interdisciplinary studies? There must be a wide range of understandings on interdisciplinary studies. My understandings of the essence of interdisciplinary studies is that interdisciplinary studies are something like a fighting between different sports without any fixed rules. If small fighters, sumo is a traditional sport in Japan, and boxing fighters fight together, what happens? Both fighters have their own skills and techniques, but these are not so powerful and effective under their own, these are powerful and effective under their own rules. But in the game between small wrestler, small fighter, and boxing fighter, such skills and techniques may not be effective anymore. This is what happened. This is what may happen in the interdisciplinary studies. Then, what is the key of successful interdisciplinary studies? In a sense, it depends on whether we can establish a win-win relation with the competitors, whether we can change the competitor to partners or not. For this, what we have to do is to observe the competitor well and try to be adaptive to them. To respect the competitors is the key to successful formation of interdisciplinary studies. Then, why do we have to do interdisciplinary studies? We are facing various issues and problems in the real world. These include peacekeeping, conflict between ethnicities and religion, economic disparity, global warming, environmental pollution, among others. These issues all need some sort of interdisciplinary approaches to find the solutions. How about the structure of research institute, including university? It is basically discipline-based, because discipline is the basis of fundamental development of science. Unfortunately, there is a huge gap between issues and the problems we face in the real world and discipline-based academicism. Interdisciplinary studies are challenges to overcome this gap. I have been engaged in interdisciplinary studies since almost the beginning of my research career. Let me introduce briefly how I developed myself as a researcher of interdisciplinary studies. My background is, as introduced, my background in education was agriculture engineer or irrigation engineer. The topics of my PhD thesis was techniques and productivity evaluation of rain-fed rice cultivation in Northeast Thailand. I did this based on field survey and simulation modeling. Through this study, I recognized that villagers' select farming practice under not only natural but also socio-economic constraint of their household. Rice production in Northeast Thailand is quite unstable. The coping mechanism to this instability is not just technical, but social and economic. I thought that I need interdisciplinary approaches in order to fully understand their behavior, farmers' behavior, and to suggest something useful for them. After I got PhD degree, I promoted several research projects listed here. My research concerns expanded from rural livelihood and development, land and water resources management, environmental conservation, and the interaction between community and government in Southeast Asia. Through this process, I worked with researchers in the field of anthropology, economy, political science, in addition to some crop scientists, soil science, and hydrology, among others. It is because their knowledge and perspectives are quite useful and indispensable to approach the topics I'm interested in. Why did I select such research career? It is rather difficult for me to explain, but let me look back my career. I may be able to say like this. Most important point is I always try to do something which is academically and socially important, but missing. Nobody do it. And nobody does it yet. And another important point is that access to the budget. There is it is more practical reason. By this kind to selecting this kind of topic, access to research budget was much better. Okay, why I could develop myself in this way? One of the biggest advantages for me is that I belong to Center for Southeast Asian Studies, Kyoto University. I was recruited by CCS in 1987 and have continued working there for nearly 35 years until now. So let me introduce CCS briefly. CCS was established in 1963 with a mission of comprehensive research on Southeast Asia. Japan at the time, early 60s, is still economically poor. Japanese people, including university professors, have very limited occasion to go abroad. But we are very much interested in foreign countries. At the same time, we have to keep distance from a sort of colonialism, which we had just 2 decades ago at the time. This suggests that we should not promote geopolitics. This is the reason why Kyoto University President at the time set the mission of CCS as holistic understandings of the society, cultures, and natural environment of Southeast Asia. And he also said that comprehensive research cannot be achieved without a deep affection for and understanding of Southeast Asian people. Rather than studying documents, we should go to local places, live together with local people, and break into an unexplored field of research to make a broader contribution to international academia. Under this mission, under this vision, we set up 3 major approaches. First, long-term field work conducted in local language. Promotion, and second, promotion of interdisciplinary research. And third, selecting research agendas defined by the local contemporary issues. Actually, it is what my seniors thought 60 years ago, but we still maintain these vision approaches until now. You can find one of the evidences of our effort in the faculty composition of CCS. The number of faculty of CCS was 8 when established in the 1960s, and is now 32. So the number of faculty gradually increased. Throughout the last 6 decades, we have maintained the policy that proportion of number of faculty whose background is humanities, social science, and national science is 1 to 1 to 1. So we have all researchers coming from all these 3 categories of research fields. The field of research within this big category is changing. For example, in the natural science group, the majority came from agriculture at the beginning, but later we recruited medical scientists and informatics, reflecting the changes in the society and nature of Southeast Asia. But the proportion of 1 to 1 to 1 among humanity, social science, and natural science, natural and medical sciences has been maintained. So for this, we pay a lot of effort. So owing to these circumstances, I could promote the interdisciplinary studies. This suggests my background is agriculture and irrigation engineering, but my neighbors are, some are anthropologists, some are economists. So that kind of environment we maintain until now. I think it is better to mention negative aspects of interdisciplinary studies, too, particularly the difficulties for the researchers. First, to find suitable research partner is always time consuming. Whenever we set up new research project, we have to find new partners. The new combination of researchers have a big potentiality, but to form the new combination is difficult and laborious too. So that is the first difficulty for the researchers. Second difficulty is that productivity at the beginning stage of research career is rather low. Right, this figure shows the number of major publications of myself since late 20s until mid 40s. The number of publications of myself is not so many, but 40s, 50s, it jumped up. And so this this number of publication may be crucial for young talent to initiate interdisciplinary studies. Once we acquire knowledge and skills and develop researchers' network, even interdisciplinary studies, the productivity can be much higher. In order to overcome these difficulties, I now argue the importance of STI coordinator who can support matching of researchers, access to research resources, and connect researchers with non-academic stakeholders. I'll mention this point later. Okay. So let me talk another point of interdisciplinary studies. It's a typology of interdisciplinary studies. I showed the pyramid of research consisting of basic, applied, and practical research before. How can we locate interdisciplinary studies in this structure? The popular type of interdisciplinary studies is somewhere on the top of this pyramid. In the development flow of research, interdisciplinary studies are expected to play the role of anchor and produce not only the academic publications, but also some products, commodities, measures, policies, and institutions which can be utilized in the real world. What I want to argue here is that there is another type of interdisciplinary studies. This type underlies the discipline-based science and technology. The research trend of disciplinary studies is more or less biased by the evolution process of human society. In other words, they are affected by the values and mindset of recent and current human society. The human society should have much more potentiality beyond what we imagine now. The role of this type of interdisciplinary studies is to explore new directions of researches, including disciplinary researches. Okay. Let me introduce one of this type of interdisciplinary studies, which we initiated around 15 years ago. We call this sustainable human sphere studies. Around 30 researchers with a wide range of academic background joined this study. The common understanding was that the development path of human society during the last 100 or 200 years is not sustainable. We depended too much on fossil resources and deteriorating natural environment. So we set up the central question that how we can make the development path of human society sustainable. We started the discussion on the basis of human existence, which we call human sphere. In terms of 200,000 years of human history, and agreed that the human sphere has 3 spheres: geosphere, some sort of earth system; biosphere, or ecological system; and human society. It was clear that geosphere and biosphere have its own natural laws, and human society has its own logic of evolution. The natural laws of geosphere underscores the natural laws of biosphere, and both in turn underscore the logic of evolution of human society. This order is historically loosely sequential. Humans only partially understand the natural laws of geosphere and biosphere, and human society can only partially control them. Therefore, the sustainability of human society depends on the sustainability of geosphere and biosphere, and to a much lesser extent, vice versa. Under this framework, we look back the development history of human society during the last 200 years, particularly focusing on Southeast Asia in particular, and the tropics in general. By this, we found that the dominant technologies and institutions in contemporary human society that are presumed to offer universally applicable knowledge were originally designed for temperate zones. Technologies and institutions transplanted to the tropics have yet to reach a level of articulation that are adaptable to Southeast Asia's contingencies. This immaturity has been a major cause in the failure of large-scale development projects carried out under the geosphere and biosphere in the tropics. comprehensive studies to pursue synergy between geosphere, biosphere, and human society can be achieved only by the interdisciplinary collaboration between the human science and the natural sciences. Sustainable human studies may be still immature, but I believe that this type of interdisciplinary studies is definitely required to make human society healthier and more sustainable. Okay, let us move to the last topic, transformation of international collaborative researches. Here, I will introduce two projects which I was deeply involved. The first one is Dongdaeun Village study. Dongdaeun Village is just a rural village located in northeast Thailand. This study was initiated by one Japanese anthropologist in the 1960s. He carried out an anthropological survey at the village. 20 years later, in the early 1980s, an interdisciplinary team surveyed the same village to see the changes during the last 20 years. And 20 years later again, in the early 2000s, an interdisciplinary team surveyed the same village. Now, I plan to do survey at the same village again because another 20 years have passed since the third survey. The time is great. I was a doctoral course student when I joined the second survey, and now become like this. This lady become like this. She is now the wife of village head. Fortunately, all the old friends grew up well. Just last week, a wedding ceremony of a daughter of village head was carried out, and I was happy to attend the ceremony. This is another fun beyond research. Let me explain how international collaboration has transformed through the 6 years history of Dongdaeun Village study. The main aim of this study is holistic understandings of multifaceted aspects of rural village, covering demography, livelihood, farming, economy, social structure, community leadership, religion, and so on. And by means of all household and all farmland surveys. The study until the third survey was carried out mainly by Japanese researchers, together with limited number of Thai researchers. What I plan to do now in the fourth survey is as follows. First, we maintain the main aim of the survey as a continuation from the 1960s and do it together with Thai researchers and share all the data and the information with them. Second, we should utilize this study more for Thai society. Dongdaeun Village can be a space of co-working and co-learning of researchers, villagers, and non-academic stakeholders. We tentatively call this Dongdaeun Village School. This idea comes from Professor Dachai, next speaker of this seminar. Third, we try to develop a theory which we call urbanization theory to contribute to sustainable transformation of rural society and uncertain urbanization. It's a common issue at a global scale. So what we try to develop this study into two directions, domesticating the study and globalizing the study by inviting non-researchers such as policymakers, practitioners, and villagers to join. Another example is Japan ASEAN Science, Technology, and Innovative Platform, or JUSTIP, launched in 2015. This is not a purely research project. There are actually so many international collaborative research projects of similar topics within Japan and ASEAN. JUSTIP aims at integrating these projects, creating a regional collaboration hub, and establishing a platform for Japan-ASEAN collaboration of science, technology, and innovation towards SDGs. For this, we pick up 3 issues: environment and energy, bioresources and biodiversity, and disaster prevention and risk reduction. We are also trying to promote transdisciplinary researches and enhancing human development, including non-academic stakeholders. Since we started this project, we had a lot of chance to talk with Japanese and ASEAN researchers, executives of research institutes, and policymakers. Through these experiences, we recognize that researchers need enormous effort to break the walls of discipline, nations, and academics to promote interdisciplinary, international, and transdisciplinary researches. How can we help them to go beyond borders? One answer is that we should foster human resources who can support researchers to go beyond borders smoothly. We call these human resources STI coordinator. We are thinking that the community of STI coordinator with various academic and national background, acquiring coordination skills and innovative idea, and sharing information on researcher, funding scheme, and policy issues can play the essential roles in research coordination to push researchers go beyond borders. For this, we are now talking with several institutions in Japan and ASEAN to jointly launch a new program of fostering SCI coordinator. So from these experiences, I sincerely feel that the style of international collaborative research is transforming. Simply speaking, it is a shift from producer-follower or producer-consumer relation to equal partnership. Equal partnership here means that, of course, first, we should focus on problems that we all are confronting in the region and co-think the research agenda, co-work for research, co-contribute research resources, and co-produce research output. Second, collaboration should benefit all the partners, and research should be undertaken at the place best suited to do it, rather than in the place where funding comes from. Third, international collaboration provides a big chance to integrate diverse ideas, knowledge, and perspectives, which is a source of innovative, and comprehensive research. Let me summarize my talk. I mentioned 3 points. First, regarding research and SDGs, I argued that the formation of sustainable and productive ecosystem of research consisting of basic, applied, and practical researches as a basis for research to contribute to SDGs. Second, regarding roles and the significance of interdisciplinary studies, I said that both solution-oriented and holistic understandings-oriented interdisciplinary studies are essential for promoting research for society. Finally, regarding transformation of international collaborative researches under the principle of equal partnership, let us work together for the common issues as a place best suited to do it and to make the research more comprehensive, globalized, and domesticated. Thank you very much for your attention.
Kono-sensei, thank you very much indeed. And it was a very great presentation. And probably we can ask some questions to you. And so before that, let me welcome Professor Atachai. And so Atachai Sensei, over to you.
Good afternoon, audience and elsewhere organizer. Let me share my slide. Okay. Thank you, Elsewhere, for organizing this very important and timely event. And also, in particular, Ajahn Kono, who kindly included me into this discussion. I'd like to thank beyond Ajahn Kono personally to Center of Southeast Asian Study staff and also past directors and leaders. And also thanks to Chiang Mai University for hosting me in the past several decades before my retirement officially in 2020. And also thanks to the United Academy of Ag Science that currently hosting me as an expert for their effort to bring in interdisciplinary approaches and also bringing in system approaches into their research agenda. My thinking when I was asked by Ajahn Kono was that I should add on to what Ajahn Kono was already covered, which is a very beautiful story of his interaction by himself and also the interaction by policy level. So I asked myself, what is the beyond borders? To actually make sense of myself. So I thought that beyond borders, in fact, is actually one individual should actually think about something beyond the box, beyond the boundary of this discipline itself, and trying to make sense of a bigger picture. To make sense in such a way that we can connect to other discipline and then act as a team toward a common goal. As a simple manga, I drew up the before today. I thought that 2 or 3 disciplines coming together as the interactive mode in the interdisciplinary fashion, we should be able to come up with some concrete idea to reach a common goal. Now, beyond just that, I just like to share also a little bit of my experience based on interdisciplinary promoter and barrier. Ajahn Kono mentioned about 3 different components of reaching beyond border and getting to SDG. I like to start off with the research part. If we were to actually going into a huge transformation and getting into a real collaborative equal partnership, we should start from our leaderships in various roles, from government to university to publisher itself, to private firm and youth group, and also the community. These groups should organize themselves in such a way that research should be part of their interactions, and then come up with some question that we can improve something together, based on data set, based on interaction that we have in different discipline. At the end of this interaction, we should be able to come up with a new wisdom, a wisdom that would allow us to create a transformative policy and also program. I would think that in order for us to, in fact, create a big step of transformation, a major effort will have to start from education. And education, of course, we need a strong backup from different disciplines. Very good in different humanity science, social science, natural science, and health science. However, in order for us to really make a big and also efficient transformation, we need some additional effort to have a different mindset that we could think about change is in the curriculum. I was lucky to be granted the East-West Center Scholarship in Hawaii, where I have opportunity to learn from deep disciplinary of agronomy and soil science, and then also be able to interact with information technology, so that I can bring both worlds together. And then also I was very lucky to be able to join the agricultural system master and PhD program at Chiang Mai University in the 90s, where we also have ability to build up a large amount of scholarship for student and also professor to interact and to form meaningful research beyond a single discipline. And lastly, I was actually very lucky to be given a chance as a visiting professor in the ILS program at Kyoto University in 2018. Here I was learned that at the BSc level in Kyoto University, the students were actually shift from regular curriculum as I actually been experienced in Thailand into actually experiential learning, where they have ability to become part of the active member and ready to change. And recently, I'm interacting with JSPS Ramtoku program by the support of Ajahn Kono to interact with a professor in Japan to host talented Thai researcher to be part of this education, and also on the other part of the change ready of education is the informal education or informal learning. Here, I was lucky to be able to interact and also involved with the national SDG conference since the beginning of my career in 1977 until the last one was in 2014. Here we are actually started off from cropping system research conference, and then we move into farming system research conference, and then later on third part of this national sequence of conference, we are moving on to sustainable agricultural system. In other words, we include human into our discussion. And then later on, I was granted a research project by APN for global change research, basically capacity building, in using my system tool to assess the impact of climate change on rice production in Thailand. That was still very useful and still used in several studies. And lastly, the learning that I was actually interact quite regularly is the training of software and application. for system modeling. That last one was actually conducted in Bangkok in January of this year. So once we have this transformation and human resources, we could actually generate a different kind of tool. We could generate different kind of languages that would allow us to move beyond just research within the border of each discipline, going into the domain of those who are actually in the difficult situation. And we could be able to use this tool and language to secure resources so that we could come up with collaborative project. Here, the question is that would be something very different than the disciplinary domain. Is that we are looking at the question of that we need to work together, and I want to work with you. We can do more than individual in tackle different set of situation. I like to take a bit of example of the collaboration that I was involved quite a lot during my active government career services. Is that I was involved in the upland agriculture curriculum during 2005 and 2008. These are the project funded by Willock Foundation, and we involve neighboring countries into discussion of how to develop this curriculum. And lately, I was actually granted by Southeast Asian Center of Southeast Asian Research Study to be a visiting fellow during this period. And lastly, the expert program by Yunnan. Let me next example that I would like to focus more with this interaction that I have in the TRF or Thailand Research Fund Decision Support System, and also Thailand Research Fund Precision Agriculture National Research Network. TRF DSS was started in 2002 and lasts until 2015. I was the coordinator under the DSS network in 2007, and also 2015 to 2020, I was the coordinator. The job is basically very similar to what Ajahn Kono was actually emphasized. My role was actually to be a STI coordinator. The job is trying to link the demand and also the supply side of the research, so that the situation of agriculture and also natural resources is being understood, and then we apply the peer support system into our practical mode before research grant is basically granted to the research team and also the stakeholder, and then we would come up to some kind of agreement in such a way that both the demand and also the supply side of the research could interact and then develop a decision support system tool. More information is in this publication. And also the one interaction that I was very proud of is my role in linking up the MOU signing ceremony between TRF and also NAFRI, or the National Ag and Research Institute in Laos. The MOU actually allow us to develop two teams of research together. One working in Luang Prabang in the northern part of Laos to develop a human capacity in their service, and then the other one in the central part of Laos in native chicken. And that's in the at the policy level. At the personal level, I think Beyond Border is acting outside the box. It's really rewarding to myself. Here I show you that as an active member of teaching staff, we have 4 different roles. One is to provide teaching for students. And here I was actually very happy that I be able to introduce these 4 different courses, including learning material to the students. And we've been very happy to learn that this course is also still going on in Chiang Mai University. The second part was actually very, very interesting, is the research part. Here I was very lucky because the Thailand Research Fund was started just about before the time that I moved and joined to Chiang Mai University in the 90s. Here we able to secure quite long-term funding, more than 3 years. Some of the project we've been working on system modeling is 5 years. So we be able to produce different type of interface. For example, the map window crop DSS. Here we link the spatial database and also the crop simulation model so that we could assess the impact of climate change. Thai rice zoning is also a very useful for the rice department in following different yields and also production scenario. XBuild is another one that we are working with the international scientists to introduce the Thai platform into the international community. The third one was the training program that I've been organizing within Southeast Asia. Last one, as I mentioned earlier, was in Bangkok. This is funded by APN, the University of Toyama, and DSAT Foundation. And the fourth one was on the community service. This is basically the thing that been mentioned in the last slide. So to summarize, of the key learning point that I thought about Beyond Border, which probably translated into interdisciplinary research, is that research is quite important, and beyond that is leadership of different community should come together and come up with some idea that we could improve together. Then we could transform policy through education, which already example I gave. I think this would give us a strong push to develop a very productive collaborative project based on equal partnership, based on long-term resource utilization. I think that's my last slide. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. This last slide is actually showing effort of different generation to start their rice planting season in the rain-fed northeast of Thailand. Here you see different generation of men and women, children, to pull out their rice seedling and gather them up and in bunch, and then transplanted in other nearby field. Thank you so much. I hope my story is. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Professor Kono and Atachai. We're not going to begin answering the questions submitted during the presentation. It looks like we have quite a few questions. So apologies, we don't have enough time to answer all the questions. But Julia, could you maybe share your screen? And the first question is about to Kono. The 6 C's by Professor Honjo are remarkable. Considering the scenario today and keeping SDGs in mind, I feel seventh C may be added, and that is collaboration. So your view on this, please?
I agree. I agree. Yes. Yes. In case of Professor Honjo, his topic is very specific, how can I say, mechanism of cancer development, and try to develop some sort of cares using so-called observable mechanism. But if we work much broader issues like environmental protections or something like this, we need the collaboration with much more wider people, researchers. And in that sense, I fully agree with this idea. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So the next question is, if you could, yes.
Okay, so let me read it out. So I think in this question will be both Professor Atachai and Professor Kono. So I'll ask Professor Atachai answer first, and then Professor Kono. So question is, why is transdisciplinary research still not encouraged by supervisor or PhD guides? So Professor Atachai, could you provide your comment or thought, please?
No, I'm not. I'm really encourage my student to do that. So that's probably Ajahn Kono. I view transdisciplinary research is the system approaches there. So transdisciplinary is really holistic type of research, and that is my field. So I'm very encouraged my student and myself.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. So Professor Kono, please.
Yes. First, I'd like to clarify the meaning of transdisciplinary studies. In my presentation, I use the word transdisciplinary studies, but the difference between interdisciplinary and transdisciplinary is that interdisciplinary is a collaboration among researchers with different disciplines. But transdisciplinary, in my presentation, means collaboration between researchers and non-researchers. So transdisciplinary studies go beyond the conventional academic society. That is the meaning that I use the word transdisciplinary research. And but currently, particularly, right, like for example, Future Earth, they encourage transdisciplinary researches. Yes, and some researchers, and I also understand that now is the time for researchers to work with non-researchers, non-academic stakeholders. And but how can I say, for one of the reasons behind that, as I showed in my presentations, it's rather difficult to make academic outcome by the transdisciplinary researches, because transdisciplinary research should be adaptive to the society. We cannot fix the research framework in advance. We have to be very much flexible, because the real world is always changing. And so for particularly for young students, it's rather risky to engage into transdisciplinary researches. But at the same time, I want to say that we need various, how can I say, we need researchers with various experiences. Of course, some researchers can grow up within the discipline, but some researchers should grow up by experiencing transdisciplinary researchers. So such kind of researchers with diverse background can form a much stronger academic communities, I believe. So yeah, so I understand that it is not so much encouraged, but I also emphasize that we need to do this. That's all.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your clarifying and the definition itself and the background and your experience, so which is very insightful for the audience and also the person who asked this question. Thank you. So next question.
So I think the next question is related to what Kono said, but some young interdisciplinary researchers, although productive, do face problems in establishing in his or her own core area of research to be recognized. Any suggestions for them? So Atsuchai?
Any suggestion? Oh, I think as I said, first thing is you probably need to look at your own strength, and then the young researcher should try to team up with a larger group based on his or her strength. And then the third one is trying to make sure that his or her strength is actually understood by the larger group. I think that's my suggestion. And last one is keep doing it. And you need to enjoy working with other members of the team.
Thanks very much. So if you would like to add anything, Kono, please.
How can I say? In Kyoto University, we have several discipline-based graduate schools. In addition, we have graduate school of Asian and African area studies. And in this graduate school, okay, students come from with various academic background. What we do is that we try to push them to expose themselves to the real world from the beginning. We don't force them to learn the discipline first. Let them learn at the field. So we send the student like to some Asian countries or African countries for 1 year or 2 years at the time of master courses. And at that time, a student did not acquire the disciplinary background yet. What they have to learn is how the real world is, what is the real world, what they are doing, what kind of problems they face, and try to find out a research topic from the real world. So the real world is the teacher is a teacher for them, and after setting up the research agenda, they try to study about something about the discipline. They need some tools, but the topic research agenda comes first. Discipline is a kind of tools of research, but tools comes late. Research topic comes first. That is what we try to do in the graduate school of Asian and African area studies in Kyoto University. But how can I say? It is very difficult, I'm sure, for the student. It's a very tough work. Some students go to Asian or African countries for 1 year. They know many things about the real world, but they cannot set up the research agenda, research topic. So supervisor have to intervene to some extent. We can talk with them and try to set up, and we have to suggest. So how can I say? Again, the majority of education system is based on disciplines, and it's okay. But we also need some young people who pass through such kind of how does it through this kind of people also. Anyway, we need the diverse human resources to promote much more our interdisciplinary studies to contribute to the society. That is what I feel. Thank you very much.
That's a very interesting point of view. If you want to know more about Kyoto University Asian African Studies, you can visit the website. You can probably dig deeper into what Kono said. Kono, Atsuchai, did you raise your hand?
Yeah, just one last comment is to young researcher is to try to watch the sumo game and how they train, you know. You would learn how to be Yokozuna. Thank you.
Just for your information, Yokozuna is the highest rank
Oh,
of
yeah,
a
yeah,
small
yeah.
wrestler. All right,
They
so
need, yeah.
yeah, thanks so much. So Junya, probably we can go to the next question.
Okay. So the next question we have received is, if researchers from other disciplines do not show equal involvement in the studies, how could we tackle this problem? This will be quite a technical and very complex question, but both Professor Kono and Atachai can advise. So I'd ask Atachai first and then to Kono. So Professor Atachai, could you share your thought, please?
I'll probably try to give him or her second or third chance to understand the situation. In other words, if I were the coordinator, STI coordinator again, or Thailand Research Fund network coordinator again, which is my role, is to do just what you ask. Is that we sit around and then try to interact. That's the idea of system approaches. Try to understand the situation that we are facing at the individual level and also beyond individual. And second to that is try to see what are the value of that individual. If we have him or her on board, what would be the big step, big impact if we have he or she on our board to tackle the problem? I think that's my response. And it's been very successful in my career.
So
Not talking about money at all.
The same, yeah.
Not talking about money.
All right. So thank you for
Yes.
Professor Kono.
Yes, this is quite an important point to do interdisciplinary studies successfully. My way is like this. Okay. Anyway, we do some interdisciplinary studies, and maybe 3-4 years. Then we move to the new topic and form the new team. At that time, about half of the members I invite from the previous members. We know each other already. We can expect to some extent what they can, the contribution from them. And about half of them, I try to invite new members. And I continue this kind of process. So gradually, I try to expand my research networks. And we know, okay, these people, these researchers are interested in this kind of topic. So for this research is suitable. So by this way, I try to expand my research network. Okay, so if all the members are not so much familiar with the interdisciplinary studies, it's almost impossible. So we need some members who have some experience of interdisciplinary studies. But if we work always together with these people, our project cannot expand more. We should invite new members always. So that is a way what I am doing. Thank you.
So if I understand your point correctly, that the mixture of or changing the member of the staff would then bring a stimulation for the research or members itself, and it's kind of okay. Thank you very much. Very practical.
Yes, very practical.
Yeah, it is. Okay, Katsu, for the next question for you.
Yeah, so the next question is how underdeveloped country participants could facilitate in the international researches. So I guess yeah, how can they kind of take the lead in international collaborative research? Any views on this? Maybe Kona first.
How can I say? Which underdeveloped country this question mentioned is not clear, but like the biggest disadvantage of underdeveloped countries, how can I say, smaller connections with international researchers. And how can I say, so in that sense, you should expose yourself as much as possible to the international societies. Now, internet is available in many ways. You can expose yourselves, and you may have a chance to work together with international partners. So, how can I say, if you stay in your locality, and if you don't act anything, then you cannot have a chance. Try to expose yourselves in various ways. That is what I can say now. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Adachai.
This is very easy to me. I would really encourage you all to write a letter to elsewhere, and then write a letter to Kono Sensei, or even to me. Send me an email. There's no border there, and you yourself should go beyond border, and this costs very little. And this day, as Kono Sensei mentioned, internet is really powerful. You can organize your webinar to propose your situation and to bring in your story. I think that would be a very beautiful movement out of this forum. I would love to see that. Yeah, write to elsewhere, so that elsewhere would change their business model to include more developing and also developing world as a team. Yes, I think that would be, I would be very happy to help. Thank you.
That's a great message, Adachai. That's why we created this platform. We can have people from, not from Japan, but APAC, around the globe, everyone, developed, underdeveloped, anywhere. This is a great thing about digital transformation. We can get together on the same platform. So thank you so much. Unfortunately, we are running out of time. Is there anything else you wanted to cover before we close this webinar, Adachai, Kono?
I just want to express my thanks to the organizers, like
Yes.
Katsu and Junya, for nice coordination and moderation. Thank you very much. I also enjoyed.
Yeah, I indeed, I really thank you about this event as initiative that bring us together. And in fact, I learned quite a bit of how to motivate myself for the next 20 years, so that we could see different elsewhere. We could see a different model that beyond publication, beyond books, and so on. Then that will be something that we should do together. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Professor Kono and Professor Adachai. Once you leave this webinar, your browser will prompt you to fill out a survey. So we would appreciate if you complete that survey and provide your feedback. You will also receive a follow-up email in a few days with links to a recording of this webinar, presentation materials, and certificate of attendance. And on behalf of Elsevier and our presenters, thank you for joining us today, and have a great rest of your day. We will see you next time. Bye.
Bye. Thank you. สวัสดีครับ
สวัสดีครับ